Hi guys, Alex here. Today is the day we find out what tickled my pickle this week. We have a range of different news, like Elon Musk becoming the CEO of Apple. How do you like them apples? Exciting. We have shared gold medals, first time for hundreds of years. And we have frozen women becoming defrosted. Ha! And becoming alive, which is exciting. Shortage of chips, words that you won't remember tomorrow, and more interesting, exciting news in between. So let's see if I can tickle some of your pickles, and let's get to it. The first news, shared gold medal. As I was sitting down to film all of this, I got a notification from Google, thank you, that there was a shared gold medal for the first time in 109 years. Clicked on it, read it, basically the story. We have an Italian high jumper and Qatarian, a guy from Qatar who also does high jumps. They were jumping 2.19 meters all the way to 2.37 meters. They jumped flawlessly. Together, each of them did perfectly. The judges couldn't tell them apart. And basically these two guys thought, why we continue jumping if we can just split the gold medal? And basically the next step would be to jump 2.39 meters, which is the Olympic record for the past time. And they decided not to do it because God knows what could have happened there. They decided to call it day and was like, F it, let's just both get a gold medal, win-win for everyone, and go home. And they shook hands, hugged, and said, we'll share the gold medal. And now we have two people with gold medals for basically doing the same thing, which is super exciting. And plus it shows kind of good relationship between countries and all of that friendly bullshit. So that's pretty cool and exciting. And that's it. To the next news. All right, next up on what tickled my pickle is Elon Musk wanted to become the CEO of Apple. I don't think that's actually took place, but let's look at the facts. In the book that came out recently called The Power Play, Tesla, Elon Musk and the Bet of the Century, there is like a page dedicated to the fact that Elon Musk wanted to sell Tesla to Apple, and he came to Tim Cook and he was like, do you want to buy Tesla? And Tim Cook was like, yeah, maybe. And Elon Musk was like, okay, then maybe I'll be the CEO. And Tim Cook was like, yeah, usually, you know, when we acquire a company, the CEO stays. And he's like, no, I meant CEO of Apple. To which Tim Cook said, F you. Obviously, that sounds like a stretch to me. Elon Musk is an out there person, but he's not an idiot. And if he wanted to actually Apple to buy Tesla, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't go then try to negotiate a deal where he is the CEO of Apple after the acquisition. You know, it's like Apple buys Tesla, not Tesla buys Apple. So Elon Musk denies it, Tim Cook denies that this phone call ever took place. Elon Musk and Tim Cook both admit that they thought about this discussion in terms of Elon Musk asked for a meeting with Tim Cook, but Tim Cook declined, and that was the end of the story. So I think it's a bit far-fetched bullshit in this particular story, but something to be aware of. These things happen and people lie, so don't believe everything that you read on the internet. More on this in the next news. The next news that I wanted to discuss is not really news, but like a concept in psychology. It's called illusion of truth, and it basically measures how likely we are to believe lies and what kind of makes us believe in lies. And the thing is, our brain is really focused on kind of repetition. So the more often we hear something, the more likely that we will think that it is the truth. And the less we hear about something, the more likely that when we hear it for the first time, we're actually thinking that not quite right. And what scientists discovered is that if someone repeats a lie to you 5 times in kind of different situation, of course, you are quite likely to believe that this lie is actually the truth. And this is how basically all of the news agencies like CNN and Fox and all that bullshit, BCC, Russia TV, all of that stuff, that's how they operate. Because if you hear the same thing from different sources day after day after day, you start to believe that it's true. So that's kind of how it works, something to be aware of. So the more you hear something, if it's not true, it is likely that you will believe it's true after a set period of time. And that's kind of how the brainwashing happens. So just repeat the same thing to a person for a period of time, and they will start to believe it. So to the next news. The next news that tickled my pickle is the shortage of chips, and by chips I mean CPUs. Intel CFO comes out and says that there is going to be, and I quote, an acute supply problem in foreseeable future. From our estimates, estimates that are read online, it looks like it's going to continue for about 2 years. And what it means is Intel is focusing their production power on producing chips for business grade electronics. We're talking about data centers, businesses and that side of things. They are slowing down the production of standard chips for consumer grade electronics that is used in this laptop, in the phones, or any other kind of consumer grade electronics. And that is a problem because not only you won't be able to find a laptop available, there's going to be just a shortage of them, but the ones that you will find will cost you considerably more. For example, I bought this laptop about 2 years ago, and it cost me about 400-500 quid, and at the moment exactly the same model costs almost 900 pounds brand new. So that's pretty insane. Because there's a shortage of chips, there's a shortage of supply, there isn't a shortage of demand, I'll tell you that much. So if you want to sell any of your computers or any kind of consumer grade electronics, it is about a good time because there's a shortage on the market, and you can sell, like I'm selling this laptop, for the same price that you bought it, if not higher. So something to be aware of, and maybe time to upgrade to something new if you can find stock. To the next news. Next up on my list of pickling news is Lethologica. This is basically a phenomenon when you can't remember quite what you wanted to say, like a word. It's at the tip of your tongue, but you just don't remember what it is. In reality, what happens is that in your brain, you just can't access that memory of that word for whatever reason, or phrase or actor or whatever it may be, and it's just at the tip of your tongue. Basically, in layman's terms, it's like a 404 error when you're trying to connect to a server which is disconnected for some reason. You just can't reach it. Same happens to your brain. Now, you have one more word that you won't remember what it is when asked. You're like, it's something, I just know it, and you just won't remember it. Statistically speaking, 50% of the time you will remember the tip of your tongue word or whatever thing within 1 minute of realizing that you can't remember it. But if you haven't, more likely it will take a few days or weeks. It can be triggered by environment, so something in an environment, you see, you hear a smell or something that will remind you of this memory, of this word, and you're like, that's what it is, but it's hugely unlikely. So your best case to solve it is to Google it, because otherwise it will drive you mad. And another thing you want to keep in mind is that it increases in frequency with time. So basically, when you're in your 20s, you're likely to experience something like this about twice a week. And when you're in your 50s, you're likely to experience it about 5 times a week, which I'm not looking forward to. But if you train your brain, if you read, if you exercise your mind, you should be good, but it still will increase with time. I guess we're all gonna die, huh? Anyway, to the next news. Last but not the least is a story about a frozen woman that became alive. It's super interesting story. It happened in the 1980s, and basically a girl in the December months when it's super cold, somewhere in America, it was -30, and she was driving home from like a party or whatever, and her car stalled. She came out of the car in like a jacket and some boots, so it was super freezing, and walked to a friend's house, which was nearby. She slipped, fell, lost consciousness just a few yards, I'm not American, few meters away from the house, and spent about 6 hours there. The guy then came, saw the body next to the house, dragged her in, and then called the doctor. The doctor comes in, touches her, tries to put a needle in her body, like in the skin, and it just bends. Basically, if you were to touch her, she was like stone cold, and her whole body is just not moving. Like the skin is just like rock. It literally got frozen. The eyes are like frozen balls basically, instead of being real eyes, which is super scary, right? So you would think that's it, the lady is dead. And usually you would be right. But because of the certain time periods and frame periods, you could actually survive it, like this girl did. So basically they found her, and about 12 hours later, she was on her way home, nice and safe. So how is this actually possible? Well, it's time to learn something new. Wow. In reality, she spent 6 hours in the snow. The body is much smarter than you are, obviously, and it should be, and it knows that if it's super cold outside and there is no way that you're gonna get to warmth anytime soon, what it will do, it will shut off blood supply to organs that it doesn't need, to your limbs, to your skin, to your muscles, and it will concentrate on keeping warm the insides of your body and your brain, obviously. So what will happen is you will have very little blood everywhere else in your body, in your skin, everywhere, and most of it will be concentrated on the inside to keep yourself warm. And what happens then, you can just literally freeze like a piece of meat and then unfreeze and you would be fine. Because you freeze, the blood inside the veins which is left, which is a very little amount, have the space to expand without, which is very important, ripping the actual veins, which is the scary part. This is why you would die if you instantly froze, is that the blood will expand very quickly in the tight space of your veins and it will just rupture your veins and you're dead meat. But if there's not much blood in your veins and you freeze, the blood will just freeze, expand within this volume that is within your veins and you will be fine. So this is exactly what happened. 6 hours went by and she was warmed up again and the body thought, like, okay, I'm warming up, I will let the blood flow come back to the muscles, to the skin and to everything, and she became kind of warm and alive again. But it's super awesome that she's alive, everything was fine, and doctors now are able to explain actually why it happened and how it can actually happen. You know that it's actually possible and nothing super mystical about it. It's not God's will that your limb regained consciousness or you are alive. It's more likely than not that just not enough time went by for the vital organs of your body to freeze and die. Something for you to know. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, hit the like button. If you didn't, let me know by hitting the dislike button. The engagement counts. Write your comments below. I would love to hear maybe some news that tickled your pickle and I didn't speak about them. So let me know and I will cover them in the next episode, maybe. I will answer to your comments. And again, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.
We gotta make them right. Chillin' with mine. We triple up, they on a double up. Triple dub. Came from the basement, we only going up. They loving us. Up in the booth, I'm getting dizzy, but they the cup is up. Toast to my people that's on the come up and you live with us.